Hi. Good evening, good afternoon. It's 4:44. Good afternoon. This is Kenya Rockman, the author and founder of the Child Support Hustle and the Reform Child Support Now movement. I hope everyone is doing well when you watch this video. If you're watching it now, if you're watching it later, hope you're doing well, staying safe, and all that good stuff. I'll give it just a second to see who pops on. If you are just coming on, please don't forget to click the like button. I greatly appreciate it. If you're watching this later on whatever platform you're watching on Facebook, please hop on over to YouTube and subscribe to my channel so you can get the notifications up for when I go live with all the latest in child support information, news, however you want to call it. I appreciate everybody for your continued support. Hi, Steph. I received your email. I'm pretty sure I responded, but I'm not 100%. Let me know, please. Hi, Michael. Thanks for tuning in. As the title says, Halle Berry, she's been in the news hot and heavy for a month now after she called child support extortion, something that all of us that I know of has called child support. You're welcome. But she's a celebrity, so she went global. Viral, and we've been talking about it ever since. So recently, as a couple of days ago, we find out that her payment was cut in half from $16,000 to $8,000, which is still a ridiculous amount of money a month for child support, but it was reduced by modification. So what I found, Jara Safari Wagwan, how are you? Thanks for joining. What struck me as something to talk about, and what I felt it was an injustice, was how fast the modification happened from when she put them on blast. So that was a short time. Any parent that has tried to file for a modification ever knows that it takes months, if not years, to even get a response from child support concerning your modification. So I just want to a little background and go over some of the stipulations of filing a modification and why it's so ridiculous. But when somebody's in the spotlight and celebrity, they're going to make the system look like this is how it operates on a normal. Like, all you have to do is let us know that your payment is too high, or something is wrong, and we'll fix it for you right away. And we know that we know very well that's just not true in the real world. So Yahoo News quoted Ms. Berry saying, quote, "I understand some parents, man or woman, may need help, but I also feel that in these modern times, both men and women have the responsibility to financially take care of their children and work hard and make every effort to do so. The way many laws are set up, people are allowed to use in all caps, children in order to be awarded money to live a lifestyle that not only they did not earn, but that is way above and beyond the child's reasonable needs. And that is, quote, the wrong, those are in quotation marks, and where I see abuse, and that's end quote, which is no different than what so many parents have been saying for decades. And she's correct. I agree with her statement, but I would add that the government is to blame for this system, as it promotes and allows the abuse by putting one parent against the other just to make a profit through the child support system and the family court system. Let's be clear. This is a $50 billion plus a year industry. I think that's a low estimate, personally. Not to mention that parents are permitted to alienate children from the other parent with no repercussions, even though numerous studies have shown that parental alienation is a form of child abuse. So they profit off of this system, allowed to do it, and will continue to do it but we're speaking out about it, and Ms. Berry spoke out about it. So we're going to get some changes, and it's happening. Excuse me. I have to stay hydrated. But let's discuss the swiftness in which Ms. Berry's modification was processed and granted, especially during this pandemic. I spoke out early during the pandemic saying that child support payments should be suspended during COVID for numerous reasons. I put the video, I put the link in the description about the suspending the payments for obvious reasons, but mainly the mandatory shutdowns experienced in the country and the record numbers of unemployment filings. The Federal Office of Child Support Enforcement responded to questions of child support payment suspensions, modifications, and enforcement by providing these responses. And these are just some of the responses. This is not all of them, okay? So this light is beaming on me. I'm going to buy me another light, guys. If y'all tune in, y'all know me and this light, whew, we go at it. It's hot, it's bright, it doesn't, anyway. So these are some of the responses that they gave as far as canceling or just suspending, modifying, or stopping the enforcements during the pandemic. One of them was federal law does not authorize suspension of child support obligations during public health emergencies. Why? Why not? Everything is paused. Rent, cell phone payments, mortgage payments, car notes, everything was paused. And I think some still are, but they won't authorize suspensions of child support obligations during a public health emergency. Next, only a state or tribal tribunal with proper jurisdiction can modify a child support order. Okay. In the absence of a modification, child support arrears will continue to accrue pursuant of Section 466A9 of the Act, which is known as the Bradley Amendment. You know, the Bradley Amendment, we need it to be appealed. Thanks, Michael. Let me know what you think. That needs to be repealed. I think I put the link for the Bradley Amendment, and I'll discuss that in detail in the description as well. Next, the Act establishes that any unpaid child support on or after the date it is due becomes a judgment by operation of law with the full force, effect, and attributes of a judgment of the state, including the ability to be enforced. Got that, but we're in a pandemic. The judgment is entitled to the full faith and credit in the state and in any other state and is not subject to retroactive modification. That is directly tied to the Bradley Amendment. So they're saying, forget everybody. In other words, we know that the entire world is living through a public health emergency, but non-custodial parents don't matter today, just as they don't matter on any other day. This is a clear violation of civil, human, and equal rights. Civil, human, and equal rights. Just based on that right there. Everybody's getting a relief or some kind of break financially, but they're saying there's nothing that they can do. So in regards to enforcement, the Office of Child Support Enforcement stated that under the Title 4D of the Act, Social Security Act, certain enforcement remedies are mandatory in every child support case and cannot be suspended absent a change in federal law. We'll lobby the legislators. Next, the Act requires states to have in effect laws requiring the use of the other enforcement procedures such as driver's license suspensions, credit monitoring, and state tax refund offset, but provides that certain of these enforcement actions, quote, need not be used or applied where the state determines that such use or application would not carry out the purposes of Title 4D of the Act or would be otherwise inappropriate in the circumstances, end quote. I think a worldwide pandemic and suspending these payments and not suspending the payments is definitely an inappropriate in the circumstance. I don't know. I'm sure you guys would agree. Maybe some people wouldn't, but I think that would qualify. We know that the stimulus money and the taxes have been offset during this pandemic, even though clearly it was harmful to parents and children. They still took it. They still garnished the money. And if it was the arrears were owed to the government, the children didn't receive any of the money. Using these enforcement measures are still occurring, including arresting parents. So in Jefferson County, Kentucky, they just released the names of parents who owe child support debt, ready for them to be arrested. So they're still arresting parents during a pandemic that can't afford to pay child support debt, which is a clear violation. That's Turner versus Rogers from the Supreme Court, a ruling from the Supreme Court. And they keep doing it. That should be considered inappropriate and illegal and unconstitutional. When asked if they're considering a temporary suspension of the federal tax refund offset program during COVID, the response was that they do not have the authority. This is the Federal Office of Child Support Enforcement. They do not have the authority to suspend a program absent change to federal law. They are the feds. And if that's not good enough, lobby the Congress and Senate to change the law during the global pandemic. It is tyranny, Morton. Thank you, Michael. Yes, Michael said, please support the movement. Don't forget, subscribe to the page, like if you haven't already, tell your friends, tell your family, tell your friends to tell a friend, all that good stuff. So when considering the fact that they will not cancel child support payments during the pandemic, the advice being offered by agencies is to file a downward modification. They have said this since the beginning of the pandemic. I made that video, I said cancel everything. They in turn said, came out with this memo or whatever, because I monitor this stuff. I read this stuff all the time. So this was their response. Some of the stuff, it was longer than that, but this is how they responded. So even under normal circumstances, it's nearly impossible for a parent to get a downward modification approved under a child support caseworker. Now, mind you, it's not going to, most of the times, these are not going to in front of a judge or to a court. These are going to a child support caseworker, which they're caseworkers, like a welfare caseworker. These are not judges. These are not attorneys. These are caseworkers. They have the authority to say whether you should have your modification granted or disapproved based on however they woke up this morning. So I just took something from a state, from Florida. The caseworkers are horrible. I compared them to when I was on public assistance and I had to go down there and do recertification. I had to go to a caseworker. They were the worst people I ever encountered. They treat you like crap, like you don't matter. And I said, you're not going to treat me like that because I'm down and out on my luck right now. I matter too. So I was always, these are caseworkers. Just because you're sitting behind that desk and you have a job, and right now I do not, does not make you better than me. So I know exactly how these caseworkers operate. So don't let them treat you like you are less than. You stand up for yourself and make your voice heard. Yeah, they are. They're related. They sure are. So, okay, so I just want to give y'all like a quick, well, it's not quick, but a rundown of just what it takes to file a modification for a regular parent, not a celebrity or not someone that's wealthy or that someone that doesn't have, that has to do this on their own without a lawyer. And this is out of Florida. So the first thing the parent has to do is, in order to pay child support can be changed or modified by the court or administrative agency, like I said, a caseworker that issued the order. Why are they issuing any kind of order in the first place if the circumstances of either parent change after the order is issued? The parent making the request gives their financial and other info to the child support program for review. 3, Once the info is received, the program, they won't even call themselves, it's the program, contacts the other parent to obtain their info. Now, if the other parent doesn't want a downward modification, guess what? They're not going to answer. And guess what? They don't have to. So that will take a year. And nobody says anything. So once the info is received, the program, contacts the other parent. Number 4, the program reviews the parent's info to determine if there's substantial, permanent, and involuntary change, or it appears that there are legal grounds to change the order. Number 5, when the program completes the review, it mails the results to both parents. Keep in mind that they can and will deny your request, and the paying parent is responsible for the full payments, even if they can't afford the payments, which is the reason they filed for a modification in the first place. So even if when they deny it, which they will, you're going to be responsible. Number 6, when the parent seeking the parent seeking that modification has the burden to prove a change in circumstance. Oh yeah, you can get the t-shirt at thechildsupporthustle.com. You can also get a copy of my book, sign the petition. Okay, so number 7, before an order can be changed, a parent's change in circumstance must be proven to be substantial, permanent, involuntary. Number 8, these are a lot of steps, right? If it has been less than 3 years since the support order was issued, reviewed, or changed, a substantial, all caps, change means that the change in circumstances will cause a change in the order amount that is at least 15%, but not less than $50. If longer than 3 years since the order was issued, reviewed, or changed, a change in circumstance means the change will cause a change in the order amount of at least 10%, but not less than $25. Number 9, a permanent change must show the change has lasted for 6 months or more. Number 10, a temporary or short-term change are not enough to prove a lasting permanent change. Number 11, involuntary change comes at no fault to the parent, like an extended illness or employment layoff. Interestingly, Florida does not consider incarceration an involuntary change in circumstance. However, per the Federal Register, any parent incarcerated for 180 days or more has a right to file for a modification. Actually, the agency is supposed to contact the parent that's incarcerated to help them file a modification. But they are, and Kentucky does this too, they say that they won't recognize incarceration as involuntary change in circumstance. So they're still racking up those arrears, even though they're not supposed to do that. So I wrote an article. I put the article about that in the description as well. And it's so disgraceful that the child support officials mislead and lie to parents as they execute this system just to keep parents indebted to them, in debt. They don't even follow the basic guidelines that they're supposed to follow to execute this system. That's why the whole thing needs to go. It just needs to be thrown in the garbage and it needs to be, if they're going to do this, because some people, and I said this before, some people need a mediator. It's easier for them to have somebody in the middle to say, you pay X amount of dollars, I do this. And it decreases friction, and it works for them. But that's not everybody. So let me see. They don't modify in New York, Gil? I think every jurisdiction modifies, or they should offer some type of modification process. So I looked on the federal website to see what states recognize COVID as a significant change in circumstance and offered some kind of guideline specific to the pandemic. California is the only jurisdiction that even mentions COVID in reference to modifications. They have what's called Emergency Rule 13, which allows parties to proceed with serving and filing a request to modify support in family law cases during the state of emergency relating to COVID-19 pandemic. One jurisdiction. That's pathetic. And I think that's how Ms. Berry got hers through so fast, because they actually have this this emergency rule there. Nobody else is even saying anything about it. But as you can see, filing for a modification for regular, non-wealthy, uncelebrated parents is a tough and not so pleasant task. It takes a long time. You will be denied. You have to do them over and over again. And by that time, you might have racked up you have racked up tens of thousands of dollars on top of the arrears that you probably were ordered to pay based on when the order was established. And the child support overseers can deny the applications if they feel the need to do so, and nobody says anything. There's zero accountability within the child support and family court systems. None. If I wanted to call and complain, I used to call and complain all the time, and they had my number figured out or whatever. I don't know. My email definitely was flagged, but there's nowhere that you can call. You get the runaround. So we just have to keep getting louder and getting louder, because they have to do something. I mean, this system cannot continue in its current form. It should have never been allowed to go on this long, but really right now it just can't. It has to go. Let me see. They make the system look fair and seamless when a high-profile parent puts them on blast. But for the millions of parents who have their voices silenced by overzealous child support caseworkers, the child support bills keep coming during a layoff, during an illness, during a pandemic, during underemployment, during starvation, during homelessness, during incarceration, during depression. They just keep coming. Child support bills do not stop. And they've been able to get away with the child support hustle for decades by convincing people that this program operates in the best interest of children. In reality, this system operates in the best interest of the government. That's why 26 jurisdictions do not pay any child support collected to the children that have families receiving TANF benefits, that have received TANF benefits in the past. And the remaining jurisdictions that will pay some of the child support collected only pay up to $200 for 2 or more children of the child support collected, because the government claims this is a welfare recovery program and they are getting money back for welfare grants that have already been paid for through our tax dollars. If you can't afford the child support extortion, then you should, by all means, file for a modification. Tell them that you want it expedited, just like Miss Berry had hers expedited, and tell them that you want it just like California has that special COVID modification rule out there. You want it there too. At least while we're fighting this child support machine, you can actually try to get the payment decreased, especially if you're struggling through the pandemic and you're not working or taking your unemployment. At least try to file for a downward modification so you can get the payments lowered. Now, ideally, we'll say just cancel the whole case, file for a termination, and get the case up off of you. No jurisdiction, or I've heard there's ways to do it. And that's not how I defeated the system. I did it by using their system against them. So I don't know. I know people talk about ways to end child support, close your case, and by all means, there's different ways to do everything. So I'm not here to say what works. I know what worked in my situation. So having said that, if a modification is something that might help you out during this difficult time, and by all means, tell them to cancel your child support payments if you can't afford them. This is a significant change in circumstance. We have a global pandemic going on. That's as significant as I think it gets, besides dying. I don't know what you mean. It's a little easier for me, Gil. I'm not sure what you mean by that. Because I'll tell you what, my life has not been easy ever. So that is my video for today. And I thank you all again for joining. Please don't forget, subscribe, and click the like button. I have a ton of articles at the childsupporthustle.com that if you have a certain situation, I might have already written about it. And it might be able to help you at least navigate through the system with your case. Let me see. Videos here. We have a huge platform on Facebook that you can go. There's a lot of people that you can network with. Maybe somebody's going through what you're going through. They can help you out, or you are in the same city and maybe y'all can organize a protest together. Like, it's time for us to link up and get our boots on the ground. Let me see what Gil says. Being that you're a woman, you don't get that much resistance compared to a male. You're welcome, Morton. Thank you. Well, in this situation, you're right, because I'm a custodial parent. So, and as I've always said, my children are raised. I was raised my kids as a single parent. So maybe in this, but it was still hard. It still took me 8 years as a mother to close my case. It still took me fighting them and being told that I couldn't, and being treated very disrespectfully, being discriminated against. If we really want to put it out there, like, it wasn't a walk in the park. No, it was not easy for me to fight against the system and get my case closed, even as a custodial parent. So I know that there's different obstacles that and barriers. I'll not compare myself to a non-custodial parent and what you all have to go through. Our fights are not the same, but to say that mine was easier, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that. If it was easy, I wouldn't be here right now. I had to fight to get my case closed, and I couldn't believe the injustice that everybody was going through. So that's why I'm here right now, to let people know this is wrong. And I don't know if everybody know this, because I sure didn't. So I feel what you're saying, Gil, but you can't ever speak on somebody else's struggle. So don't forget to sign the petition. That was kind of heavy right there, but don't forget to sign the petition. We are demanding that they erase all government owed child support debt. That money will never reach your children. It'll always go back to the government. We want that erased. And sign the petition. That can be found on my website, thechildsupporthustle.com. Tune in. Try to get it dismissed if you can, by all means. Forget a modification, file to get it dismissed, especially if they didn't serve you. If you didn't get the original summons, the original complaint where they have your signature on from the process server, ask for, if you're not sure, ask for a copy of the process. I'm sorry, I just lost my train of thought. It's the receipt. I have a video for that too. So if they don't serve you the original complaint, your child support case is probably invalid. Process server. If you look at my videos and see process server or something like that, invalid case, that'll tell you more in detail. That's how they get a lot of dads by default. If you see that, dads by default, men paying child support for children that they didn't even know anything about, that's how they get them, is by default. So you want to look and make sure that they have proof of service. That's what it's called. Proof of process. Thank you, Morton. Okay, guys. We are making noise. There's some changes going on. They whispering though. We are yelling and shouting and screaming. So every time I find out something, I'm gonna bring it to you live and direct. If I don't make a video, I'm gonna write it out and post it. And thank you all for your support. We're gonna keep on stomping. If you want to share your story on our radio show, we have the Child Support Hustle radio show with my co-host Marcus J. Eccles. He's on Facebook. You can send him a DM. You can email me at cshustle1@gmail.com. If I don't get back to you, really, like, it's a busy time right now. Oh, and this is a side note. I keep being about to go. If you see me post things about being a live kidney donor, that's because I'm going through the process of donating a kidney to my father, and I just want to bring awareness to people who might be going through this same thing. Not sure if you want to be a live kidney donor. Just wanting to bring awareness to it, and any information with the stats, anything, because this is brand new to me too. We knew we were going to go through this, but as far as me starting to get tested and all that kind of stuff, this is new, and I just want to share and hopefully convince some people out there to sign up to be a live kidney donor. I'm learning a lot. The people at Houston Methodist Hospital down here at Houston are fabulous. And so if you see a random post about kidney donors, this is the platform that I use. Or if you see me on Instagram, if you see me on Twitter and I have something about live kidney donors, it's not just like, what is she talking about? That's what it is. It's just I'm going through the process, and I want to advocate to get some more people to become live donors. So thanks for rocking with me. I appreciate you all. Don't forget the childsupporthustle.com. Remember, they can ignore hundreds, they can ignore thousands, but they cannot ignore millions. Let's go.